Hey, my name's Lewis Raymond Taylor. I've just jumped off the Resilient Minds podcast with Eric Balance. And it was a deep one. It was deep. If you're looking for some, heart-centered, deep, intimate conversation, then come and check out this podcast. And we would love to allow you to become part of that conversation today.
Hey everybody, it's Eric Balance coming to you with the Resilient Minds podcast, where I feature beautiful entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and experts in their field, where they help us discover their X factor, their experience of life, only to discover how they were able to accomplish and find out their Y factor, their big why, their purpose in life. So join me as we get to discover the beauty of our minds and how can we really continue to go after the biggest and most wildest dreams while we continue to pursue and manifest our greatest intelligence that comes from the heart. Also, if you haven't, go check out the new alignment course that I've created at www.ericbalance.com/alignment, ALIGNMENT. See you on the show. Welcome everybody to the Resilient Minds podcast. I'm super grateful, excited to really have Lewis Raymond Taylor here, bro. Thank you first of all for taking the time. Thank you for coming on the show. I'm grateful to have you here. You know, it's I was just saying it before we jumped online. It's like, your brothers Liam and Johnny have been on the show. It's about time to finally get you on here. I'm super excited. Thank you for being here, brother.
Thank you very much for the invite. Yeah, I mean, it says a lot about your podcast and you as a person that, Johnny and Liam, and then they're like, Lewis, you need to go on as well. So, I was like, what am I missing out on here? I need to be the final piece of this saga.
Thank you, brother. Yes, that's really kind of you, bro. And for those of you that are just getting to know Lewis, talk about the man with a great story, but more importantly, like where he's been able to come out of. This gentleman, he's an entrepreneur, world traveler, and he's really learned from experience. From first being told that 14 that he has this antisocial behavior order. And until being in prison in his early 20s, battling from substance abuse and trauma, illness, mental illness, or being diagnosed mental illness, and really understanding that there's this antidote that you feel inside that you really could have healed, right? So after finding clarity and confidence that you found actually inside, you're inside prison, from like a tutor inside of prison. Am I right? This is where you really redeveloped yourself. So, today he's the CEO and founder of the Coaching Masters, where people around the planet, brother, doing massive big things, changing themselves, helping them redefine themselves, and helping people understand how they can really amplify their own intelligence through their own journeys, right? So really, brother, I really want to take a moment and just really acknowledge all of that, because it really comes down to what you share a lot too, is like, if we can always change our mindset, we can really change the way that we are able to lead our lives. And it's all about resilience, right? So coming into this podcast is, it's really well dubbed, having the resilience. So yeah, man, first and foremost, bless your heart, man, for all the good work you're doing and the blessings that you're adding and contributing to the world.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned there about sort of changing your mindset and, thinking about what those shifts actually are. And, some of the things we speak about a lot, and I'd love to just sort of touch on it now because I think it's so powerful. And, this gets spoken about quite a bit in this space, but if someone hasn't heard this particular thing, or they've heard it and haven't quite taken it on board, they're just missing out on so much opportunity, both to just become the person they want to be, to help other people, to make money, to create an impact. It really comes down to this one thing. And that is seeing everything that's happened in your life not necessarily as a bad thing, and it's easier said than done, but seeing these adversities as assets. One of the things we speak about a lot is things aren't happening to you, they're happening for you. And when you're going through these difficult times, it's very, very difficult to see outside of it and to even acknowledge that this could in some weird way be beneficial to you, because it's just you're stuck in that sort of state of pain. But when you really do truly have that shift and you realize that these are all experiences and these are all lessons and these are all very valuable gifts that essentially you can go and share with other people, it means that you've been going through this for a reason, and not only, is it for a reason, but it's also going to massively help you when it comes down to serving. Because, I went through trauma and sexual abuse and alcohol addiction. At the time, I thought, come on now, what more are people going to throw at me? But now I have a coaching conversation and I hear, somebody say something or even a little look in their eye, and I'm like, I remember that, and
resonance.
I can support you out of this because I've been there, and I'm so grateful I've been there because now I can help you, so yeah, we talk about turning adversity into an asset, turning your pain into power. Things are always happening for you, and just being grateful for every experience, because you can't always see, the impact that they're going to have in that immediate moment when they're happening to you. But everything unfolds in a specific way. And as long as you use those to your advantage, because that's the key, it's a decision. Because you could turn around and say, oh, everything's happening to me. My life is really bad. My life is really tough. And you could use that to stay stuck. Now, with that mindset, they are happening to you and they are negative things. But the moment you make a decision to use those to your advantage, to be able to use it to inspire other people or to ensure nobody else goes down that path, and you can actually be grateful for it, it's at that moment where you can actually start to get the benefits and the rewards from those things. So you mentioned the mindset shift at the beginning. And I think anybody listening to this, if you've had any tough times in your life, the first mindset shift is, how is this all happening for me? And how can I use this to benefit both myself and others?
And I think that really, it really turns into this perfect way of really understanding how you feel this experience of your life has been a major shift of how you've been able to, use that 2 millimeters or, recognize these different components of saying, hey, I am able to take this experience and really contribute it to my biggest why. Because on the podcast, I always talk about to everybody, it's like, our experience contributes to our purpose, our why. And I love what you're sharing, because it literally drives perfectly now into how you feel these experiences, because you talked about like resonance there and specifically around what you've experienced, being able to like hear people saying something and then having the like, I remember doing that as well, or I remember thinking this way as well, or I remember, and you built this way of, hold on a second, what about if you look at from this perspective or this other perspective? And so now there's no longer this way where you're empathizing, but you're actually having compassion. And that is actually the powerhouse that we get to have as like people that like, have had these massive experiences in their life, to then be able to now shift it into such a powerful purpose. So brother, and I know you've had many, I know you've had so many experiences, but what's one defining moment that you could go back and say, hey man, like, this was why I needed to create the Coaching Masters. This was why I was so driven to really help people. This is why I connected with Liam and Johnny. This is why I have these brothers, to really, start building this massive, company and doing things that are going to change, and they're continually growing, which is really exciting.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I one of my biggest values, and actually something that I'm now bringing into the company, and we're currently defining down our culture and our company values and all that business stuff I didn't even think I would ever do. But anyway, we're doing it at the moment. And one of the things that came up is authenticity, and how important we feel that is, to be authentically yourself. Even if you swear and you got tattoos and you do this and you've been to prison, share it, because it's okay. And so based on that value, I'll be authentic in the way that I answer this, because I could obviously give you the great story about I want to change
No,
the world,
no,
and I do, and I
no,
do.
no, no,
But
no, no.
I'll
Of
be
course.
honest with with where this came from. So, from a young age, my dad was an alcoholic, and he would put me down a lot, and he'd call me a buffoon. He'd tell me I never amount to anything. He literally said those exact words from a young age, and I took that on, and I believed that. But I always, wanted to be loved. As a kid, I didn't get much attention. I didn't get much cuddles or I love yous or any of that sort of stuff. It just wasn't how I was brought up, and I didn't understand at the time. But now, obviously, I've done a lot of soul searching and I've done a lot of therapy, and I can understand what was happening. But at a young age, I wanted to feel significant, right? I wanted to feel significant, so I tried to do that in any way I could. And actually, I did acting when I was younger. I did dancing. I wanted to be on the stage. I had these goals and desires to be like famous. Not because I actually necessarily enjoyed it, but because I thought it would give me that thing that I was looking for, which was ultimately love from my dad. That's what it all stems back to. Daddy loved me, and I didn't understand that. So I was like, well, maybe I'll be famous then, And I think a lot of people get this very confused in life. But even as I was out of rehab and I was, into personal development and helping people, this drive was kind of still there from a bit of a negative place. And I don't know if you've heard of Dr. John DeMartini, and he talks about voids create values. And when you haven't got something, it creates this desire on the other sort of polar end of the spectrum. So I've always had this feeling of being unworthy and unloved, and I've overcompensated for that by wanting significance. And I'll be completely honest with you, it ran true within my business life as well, and still to this day does. Like, there's a big element of me reaching for success, feeling as though it's going to give me the significance that I will need to feel good about myself, And the more I'm on this journey, the more I understand that that's not actually going to get me where I need to be. But it's very hard to let go of that. I understand that it's not actually going to give me what I need to be. But because that void has created that value, it still drives me forward, maybe even in a negative way, but it still serves me and is still helpful in some respects. So in all honesty, that was probably the reason why I got started. Of course, I wanted to help people. I enjoyed that feel-good feeling. Otherwise, I would have got into, selling cryptocurrency or something instead. I enjoyed the thing I was doing. But for me, it was like, I wanted to be significant. I wanted to stand on stage. I wanted to, create something that had a legacy, and I wanted to be known for doing that. So it was coming from quite a, I wouldn't know exactly what to call it. Maybe
would you say
ego.
like an ego? Yeah. Would you say? Yeah. I was just going to ask. Would you say it was like from an egoic state?
For sure, yeah. And as I've developed through this and I've helped more people, my motivation has got bigger. And we have huge goals. We want to make a real big difference in the world. One of our goals is to make coaching as fashionable as having a personal trainer. We really want to use coaching and take it mainstream. And we want to provide ordinary people with extraordinary tools to create freedom for themselves and others. That's our mission statement, because we are those ordinary people, and we've created these extraordinary lives just with the power of coaching and using social media to get clients. And it's pretty simple. We're really passionate about helping that everyday person. And we want to create the world's largest online coaching academy. And it's quite an ambitious goal, but that's where we're going towards. So we definitely have, that emotive, deep driver. But where it all stemmed was probably from a very sort of lack mindset of, I need this in order to feel good about myself. But the journey still continues.
Of course, brother. And thank you for your authenticity, vulnerability, and sharing this, brother. I really wholeheartedly appreciate it. And, I think that this is a common theme, especially among men, like we need to prove ourselves, right? Like, I know for myself, this toxic masculinity was a way that I was like showing up in the world, like, it was, I was taking steroids and competing and doing all these things, and like, who am I, right? And how I need to show up. But at the end of the day, it's like this I was just putting up a big fucking wall in front of like, to hide the little boy that just wanted to be loved. And I think that at the end of the day, bro, this is what we need to do together to bring out like the best in each other and really help other men and women, see that, listen, like there's this beautiful feminine energy inside of us that we want to be nurtured, we want to love, we want to be playful, and we want to do this together. And we don't have to do it alone anymore. And so I really I'm same thing. Like, I've been in this place for a very long time where I feel like I've been proving myself because, like I suffered from, some I was a crack addict from a young age, from 16 to 19. I didn't do a long time in prison. It was just like in a holding remand center for a month. But bro, um, that experience, it was something that like I felt like I was needed to overcome and prove myself. And so it was always about school. Everything that I did was like, how can I be the top of my game? And there was always this coming from this place of lack. And so I totally can resonate with you, brother, because I feel like this is something similar that we have on our journeys, bro. And so thank you. Like, it's just like, it's our vulnerability is our superpower, bro. And you have obviously, been able to catapult that your stage, but also like at the same time, what I'm hearing too is a lot of compassion with yourself, and I believe that like compassion is the ultimate form of leadership. And so you're looking back and you're observing yourself and you're saying, hey, like that was what I needed to do at that time to really get myself to where I am today. And I don't know everything today, but I'm doing the best I can. And it sounds to me like that's really, the best way forward, because at the end of the day, we don't know what we don't know, right?
Mm. And it just goes back to sort of using things to your advantage as well, and being able to see these gifts and talents, even though they might seem negative, because you could look at this desire, to want to be loved and to feel significant as like this, bad mindset that you need to change and that you can't use. But actually these things can sometimes be your biggest drivers. And as long as you can flip it just from change it from a sense of, I need this in order to feel complete, to a sense of, I still deep down desire this, but it's not, without it, I'm okay, because that's when where I started. I was like, I need to prove myself, Now it becomes a point of, I no longer need to, but I still want to, It's like, if I don't get this, I'm still okay in myself, because I've got the awareness to understand that that isn't the thing that I'm chasing. I'm okay without it. But as I'm on this trajectory anyway, I might as well just go and do it anyway. I might as well prove myself while I'm there,
Yeah, man. And challenge yourself. It becomes this challenging point where like, hey, it comes down to like having that self-efficacy, right? Where there's a challenge, but because you have this like respect and this deep desire for yourself, not seeking the respect from others, because at the end of the day, we don't, like, at this point in our lives, brother, we're at this place where, and what I'm hearing is that like there's this self-respect, there's this understanding of the way that you can show up with the level of self-esteem that you have, and focusing on this like challenge that that is being created, and knowing that you're able to focus and have the resilience to push through. Not push through. Sorry, push is like kind of not the word I want to use, but you know what I mean.
Of course, yeah.
Where do you see Coaching Masters going back in the next 24 months?
Yeah, I was just saying then that I've already over exceeded anything I ever thought possible with the Coaching Masters. And actually, within one of our courses, we talk about the confidence loop, and the fact that when you take action, you get results, and those results, increase the amount of potential you believe you have. And with increasing amount of potential, it makes you take more action. And it's like this loop of things moving in the right direction, And the more we achieve, the more we achieve, the more I feel that we have that's possible. And, the goals get bigger, and, we're constantly stretching ourselves based on the new sort of parameters that we're in. And over the last few years, we've built a multi-million-dollar business, and that would have been my end goal a long time ago. So everything now is just real bonus. We're helping thousands of people. We've got a good team. We're covering 71 countries. We're making good money. So everything now is amazing, and we're just thinking about what those next steps are. And we're about to launch our own app. We've actually had a custom built social media platform. So we'll be able to have a social media platform for coaches, which is going to be cool. We've just opened our first co-working space out in Southeast Asia in Bali. So we've got Cafe Coach, which is this cafe and coaching center and co-working space. And we want to open more of those in digital nomad hotspots around the world. Maybe we'll come out and put one in Ibiza, where you are at the moment.
Let's do it.
Just having this global community. I mean, we've got the global community at the moment within our website, within the Facebook group. We want to expand that. We want locations around the world. We want social media, apps, and use technology to better bring people together even more, and just expanding what we're currently doing. Really, that's where we're going.
I love it, bro. And it's like, I don't know if I watched this documentary the other it's fun. It talks about in the world is like this. It's like this web underneath the ground by nature, and it's how like everything really is interconnected inside of the world. And so it's beautiful that you're creating this own interconnectedness with coaching, because I think that, first of all, I already mentioned to you that the mission of creating a personal, coach for everybody is absolutely, I think, is number one priority, because people don't know what they don't know. And so often, including us, like we've been in our heads, right? Like we've got stuck into our heads only to disassociate ourselves or push ourselves away from other individuals. And it's really when we bring this level of compassion, of like vulnerability, of authenticity, that we're able to put ourselves into our heart space, our true intelligence, our place of resonance, because now we get to be like little boys in this innocence where, hey bro, like, how can I help you? How can I support you? How can we do this together? It's not like you versus me anymore. It's this like emerging of coming together. And so with the technology that you're bringing to the table, it's beautiful that you're creating a playground where people can come together and say, hey, like, we're here to support each other. And really, that's what I see in the future coming to the forefront as like supporters, as massive roles. And doing that through your business is the best way to leave the powerful legacy that you really want to do anyways, right? So this is something that I think is definitely very much needed. And it's interesting because, I told you before we got onto the show, I wanted to let you know a little bit about kind of some of my drive to really like discover more of the mind, or let's call it the brain, because the mind fullness comes through the body and the heart and the brain and all of this. But the brain, my sister, she got 15 years ago, or almost 20 years ago, she got diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and it created a lot of fucking order in our lives. And it really put me in a place where I kind of pushed her away because I didn't understand. And instead of embracing her and like giving the love that I needed to her, I wasn't there for her the way that I should have been. And it's interesting because I look back today and I have so much compassion to that whole experience, because it's like I did the best I could with the moment that I had, with the knowledge that I knew. But now I'm like able to embrace her. And I truly believe that coaching, that this level of embrace, that this level of like coming together and being our innocence and staying in this level of intelligence, we can raise the level of awareness and really let go of all of dis-ease or disorder that people are saying that is happening from the mind, from the brain. What do you think about this, bro? Because I know that like you've had your own experiences, and I'm really curious to know, because this is like really like something that's near and dear to my heart.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much to unpack there, but yeah, first of all, I completely understand exactly what you were going through. Like my dad actually had cancer, and he deteriorated really quickly to the point where I had no idea what was going on and how to cope with that. So I just completely cut him out. We were living together at the time, but I would literally close the door when he was in that room, because I don't know how to process that. I don't know how to support somebody. I don't know how to respond to my big strong dad who's now this whittle sort of grey man that's crying. How do I deal with that? So I guess the only way we could deal with it at the time is to maybe step away from it, because that was what was keeping us safe, and that's how we process things. And I completely understand that. And also, like what you said about, I don't know exactly what you said, but something about coaching can help us, through these things, because we've now got the awareness and the realization that, we didn't have to necessarily respond like that. That's all we knew. And you don't know what you don't know. But actually, if I knew what I knew now, I would have been able to respond to that situation very differently. And the power of coaching is those realizations sometimes don't need to take 10, 15 years. They can take 10 to 15 minutes of the right conversation with the right perspective and the right, I don't know, paradigm shift. And you can go, wow, that's true. I guess I could respond in this way, or maybe I could try this. And
and you see different perspectives.
Exactly. And we can shortcut people's learning from 15 years down to 15 minutes. And in a situation like that, where, like, for example, I don't have the 15 years, my dad passed away. I can't go back and do that now. I can maybe if I do some NLP or some breath work and tap back into that stuff. But, in the real life, I don't have the opportunity to go back. So with the power of coaching, we can now support people as and when they actually need it,
So, brother, I really feel like coaching is a big part of even creating a new conversation. So, it's like, we have the food, the water, the technology, the ability to create so much abundance in creating a better, planet, right? What we're lacking is the leadership. So what if instead of the conversation when we were growing up was like, you have a disorder or you have a dis-ease, we told people with unique abilities and unique understandings that they were a sage, or they had a really unique gift, and they were told that they were amazing for 15 to 20 years. What would shift in that conversation, right? What would shift in the leadership? What would shift in the way that we and I believe that this is what you're doing, bro. You're shifting that language, and because now the people that you're coaching are able to start raising that level of awareness, it's also being translated to the new generation, to the kids that we're having,
Sure.
And so brother, this is ancestral shifts that we're making. This is generational shifts that we're making, and we have an ability to really do powerful things with this new level of awareness that we have. And I get excited about that because I know that it's really affected me. I know that it's affected my family, my parents, my sisters. And the moment I was able to embrace and recognize those patterns and let go, I was able to create a level of cohesion in my own family. Just me. So it's interesting how we actually are able to do so much more than we think we can. Because hey, we want to go change the fucking world, but yet we have so much to work on in the closest areas of our life. Are we willing to step up?
Yeah. And I think it's not easy, but it's possible. Well, what am I trying to say here? It's not easy in terms of the resistance and the fact that you've got to completely contradict everything you've ever known and heard, and all the people that you've respected and admired and looked up to in life, such as your parents. You've got to turn around and say, that's not right, that's wrong, that's not how I want to live my life or how I want to think and feel, which is not easy. But the actual process of having these paradigm shifts and seeing the world in a different way is actually pretty simple and doesn't take that long. When you were talking there about, it's ancestral, and this is stuff that stemmed back from, a long, long time. but yet we all have the ability to actually completely think and feel in a different way and see the world in a different way within quite a short period of time. And it doesn't take that much undoing, really, to be able to see things in a different way. I think the first thing is understanding that it is actually possible. I think the biggest thing that holds people stuck is just accepting that they're a certain person that thinks in a certain way in their certain environment, and things are just always going to be that way. So I think the first thing is just understanding that is 100% possible to completely change everything about yourself. Because I was the one that wasn't going to change. I was that one that was the worst of the worst. And if anyone was going to change, it wasn't going to be me. Yet somehow it was. And I've always been quite shocked by that, because I didn't think it was possible. I thought you could change things about your behavior and the places that you were and the things that you did. I didn't think you could change, your personality and the things that you like and the way that you think and feel and essentially the world. You mentioned there, we want to change the world. I mean, we can change the world with just one person's perspective. I see the world entirely differently now. Everything that I thought of the world is a complete polar opposite. So I may as well be in a new world. And if you change one person's life, you've again just changed another world again, because their world is different, right? And
we're all different universes.
Yeah,
I love that.
It is. And I mean, I think just realizing it's possible and then just starting small, because like you said, you mentioned the shift in language there, and that might seem insignificant. And I think people see things that are seemingly easy and assume that they're not that powerful because something so small couldn't quite possibly get such a big outcome. But it really does. I mean, when I told you earlier that my dad called me a buffoon and told me I never amount to anything, that language created a belief within me. Those beliefs shaped my behavior, and the behavior created my identity of the person I thought I was. I was convinced I was a bad person. And if I was a bad person, what am I going to do? Bad things. I'm going to go to prison. I'm going to go to take drugs, because that's what bad people do. And it's this perpetual cycle of doing bad things, feeling like a bad person, doing bad things, feeling like a bad person. And that started from language. But when you can start to change the conversations you're having with yourself and start to, like you said, if you don't have the people around you that are, sharing love with you and things like that, then giving yourself those things. And that's one of the, definitely the easiest said than done things, building that relationship with yourself, but it really does start there, rather than beating yourself up and having all that toxic language in your head that's been stuffed in by other people. You kind of got to draw a line, don't you? And sort of say, I'm going to change that conversation. I'm going to change this story. I'm going to feed myself more empowering and positive thoughts that are going to allow me to create new beliefs and new perspectives of how this world works. And months moving into sort of a few years is really enough time to make drastic changes that will become, like you said, generational. Because the moment that you break that cycle and you maybe have a family and pass your new beliefs and perspectives and language onto somebody else, you've completely broken that chain, haven't you? So we can change generational beliefs and culture and patterns and behaviors within months, maybe stretching into years. And understanding that and knowing that is quite exciting, right?
So exciting, brother. I was in and as you're sharing this, I just really want to go back to an experience, because I think that this is really powerful. I remember doing that same breakthrough, and it's interesting because I was in an ayahuasca ceremony, and I was feeling my ancestral, the masculinity side of things, the way that my father was fathered by his father, and how my grandfather was fathered by his father, and I could literally see all of that, and it was so beautiful because I was able to just let go of all of that, how they didn't show up, or how they needed to be strong, or all of these predisposed ideas, and just let that go. It was surrender, and it was the most healing part. And I realized that I was healing such a deep side of this boyhood that every single man had been through in the course of my ancestry, that I was in such a place of forgiveness. And you're right, it's this place where I developed a stronger relationship with myself. And in that relationship with myself, I was able to really understand, like, wow, Eric, like, you really are just like this unique individual full of joy and innocence that wants to come out, and you don't have to be this like rock solid man. And you're right, I really can relate to this ideology that I thought I needed to be this brick, you know, no emotion, this individual that, you know, like earlier we've been talking about my sister, like I'm tearing up, like I feel these emotions inside of me, and I'm okay with that. Like I remember when I would tear up and I would feel ashamed, you know, and these are the things that I think that as men, because I believe as men, you know, we're both men, and being able to talk about these things is really powerful. And then also embodying that, like how we have, is even more beautiful. And then because it then allows our most beautiful beloved women that we are either with, or our sisters, or our brother, or sorry, our sisters or our mothers, then also like nurture and help them come out to feel safe around us. And it brings out this beautiful essence that, listen, like, I'm here to protect you, love you, and look after you. But I really like also am so grateful for your nurturing, your love, your ability to cuddle me and love me. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know? There's nothing wrong with that.
And something that's quite powerful on that topic as well is, I think people go into those, because first of all, it's very powerful that we can have this role reverse and we can become the person that makes that change in our family, right? Because you might be feeling, it's my mum or my dad that must do that to me. I must wait for them to make that step. But actually, we can make that step to start with. So that's powerful that you can have the empowerment to be able to make those decisions and take those steps, regardless of, who should be the one protecting, but then also I think something that's really powerful for anybody who's sort of listening to this now and thinking like, I would love to take that step. And maybe I've even taken a few of those steps, but I haven't been greeted by the kind of response that I wanted. And I think that's half the problem. People go into those kinds of those conversations with expectations of how they believe the other person should meet them with that kind of courageous step they're taking, when really we should feel very happy with the step that we are able to take for the family, right? So if you've done your part and you've had that courage to be able to say, look, this is what I want from us. This is what I want to share with you. This is, something that I would love us to start to talk more about. Even if they turn around and completely dismiss you, I think it's important to understand that you have done your part and you have done what you needed to do, and be very, very happy with the progress that you've made from yourself, because it's very easy for people to go in there and just expect that they're going to get, this exact same back. And if that doesn't happen, the first thing they're going to say is, I knew I shouldn't have done that. What a waste of time. Stupid Lewis. Why did I do that? And then they're back to where they came from. So I think going into those conversations with, what can I bring to this conversation and how can I be happy with my contribution to this, rather than expecting to receive anything back in return,
And really it's so beautiful. It comes back to like, the reason for living is giving, right? And yeah, like it's interesting how for so long, we're always in this place to think that, hey, like we need to receive, or it's about me, it's about me. And that comes back to our ideology of this ego mind, right? So thank you for sharing that, bro, because I think that it's a really core desire of like what the heart does, right? What the intelligence of the heart does. It really wants to just give love. It wants to, without having anything in return. It's like, how can we walk into this relationship with ourselves, to give it as much as we need and nurture it, and then as a result of feeling filled, we're able to either enhance our relationship with, you know, nature, the creator, you know, our higher power, and as a result, the people, the relationships around us. And so, you know, I think that is a really core experience. Like, I love that we're just kind of like flowing with our experiences collectively together. But I'd love to know a little bit about kind of like the family life that you're going through. Like, are you with a partner, or are you single, or what's the future got for you?
Yeah, well, just quickly, when is this being aired on the podcast, you reckon? Oh, it's live, isn't it? Right, I won't say I won't say something.
No, but it's live on Facebook, but it's what's it called? It'll be aired, I would say probably in the next 4 weeks. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, so because I'm just depending on where I'll be in the world, and I'd be about to meet, because at the moment I'm not currently with my girlfriend, but in like a week's time she would have come to the UK. But yeah, amazing. So we got a great story. We met in, she was from Miami, I was from the UK, and I was speaking at an event in Barcelona where she was attending the event. And I met up with her after the event, and within like 3 days, I knew she was the one for me. And I basically said, don't go back to Miami, stay with me, let's travel the world together. And she did, she actually did. And then coronavirus split us up. We traveled for about 6 months together. Then she went back to America to renew her passport, and she couldn't get back in. And we spent about 7 or 8 months apart. And then we came back together. We lived in Bali and Dubai for another 6 months. And then over the last few months, she's just going back to visit her family in America. And I can't get in because I've got a criminal record. It's a long story. Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. It's so good.
Yeah. in a week's time, she'll be actually coming back to the UK. So I'm now in the UK, although I've been abroad for the last few years. And in about a week's time, once this podcast airs, we'll be actually back together, and we're going to actually go to Barcelona for 3 months and live there together. So it's going to be cool.
Oh, beautiful. You'll be close by. We'll have to get together, brother.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Let's do it.
It'll be a lot of fun. I'll be in Ibiza. I don't plan on going anywhere, and like let's definitely connect. I'll come to Barcelona, you come here, and we'll make some time. It'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. I'm all up for that for sure.
Yeah, amazing, bro. So tell me, like, you know, as we talk about like the future generations and the changes, like, are you guys like thinking of ever having a family? Is this something that you've ever thought of? When you do decide to have a family in the future, is this something where like it's going to be exciting for us to because like I'll tell you my perspective. It's like when I have kids, when I have a little boy or girl, I can't wait to instill these new levels of awareness and support systems and ideology of like how you can literally change the trajectory of your own life and like create new perspectives, because I truly believe, brother, that we can learn so much from our like kids around us, but also when we're generating and we're in our most playful selves, we can also be at this place of resonance where we can teach our kids so much more as well.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I would do things very differently. I didn't have the greatest upbringing. Some of it was okay, but for the large part, a lot of the important things, I think, weren't there, like the love, the cuddles, the how are you feeling, literally none of that. But I don't blame my parents at all for that, because that's all they knew. Like we said, you don't know what you don't know. And now being gifted with this awareness and this clarity of what is, a better way of bringing somebody up, we can do that. And like you said, you can sort of implant that, or I'm not sure if I've used that exactly the word, but, we can do that, instill that from a young age. And yeah, there's lots of things I want to do differently. And I guess I haven't really thought necessarily about what those specific things are. But what's coming up for me actually is communication. I think that's got to be the biggest, because literally I don't think anyone ever asked me like, how are you, Lewis? What, you know, how are you feeling? What, you know, what are you feeling? I was completely emotionally bankrupt. I didn't even know how to feel because it's never been something I'd explored. And when you really think of emotional intelligence, that's exactly it. I was emotionally unintelligent. I hadn't developed that part of myself. And that's just one part of it. But I think talking and communication is where it all stems from. It allows us to, you know, understand ourselves. It allows us to connect with people. And when you really think about coaching, therapy, psychotherapy, psychiatry, all of these things, it's all conversation. It's all communication. Yeah. And I think the more we can talk openly and honestly, vulnerably, the better well-developed a person can become. So that's something I would definitely be very keen to offer to my future child, for sure.
I love it, brother. It's like it's interesting how I believe, like, you know, we come from these like places where we shut ourselves off, right? We put ourselves into a corner, and we you know, ended up, you know, in a box literally by ourselves, to decide that, hey, like, I really want to communicate and help people understand that what's inside of them is so beautiful. And so this is really beautiful. Like, I feel like such a beautiful, like, we're mirrors of each other, brother. And I really love seeing this beauty, like, because the reflection and the beauty I see in you is the beauty I see in myself right now. And it's like, I just want to thank you, because you're an amazing human, brother. And it's really beautiful to watch and see what you've created. You inspire me, bro, so much. And like, I'm so excited to get to know you better as brothers, as friends. And just thank you for your wisdom, your vulnerability, your authenticity, your ability to connect. And I agree that this opportunity to communicate is our greatest gift. You know, it's our greatest gift. We have this, and we need to continue like coming together to really bring this to the world. So, dude, like, tell if anybody wants to know more about the Coaching Masters, how they can be more involved, where they can find it. Can you let us know a little bit about that, just to kind of like, yeah, I'd love people to know more and how they can get more involved.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, the best thing you can do is go to our website, and that's thecoachingmasters.com. We've got loads of free resources on there, whether that's our podcast or our YouTube channel, or we've got some free masterclasses or some free ebooks, just to sort of understand a little bit more about what we do. But the main thing that we do is we help people actually become coaches. So, you know, using those gifts and talents that you've got to be able to help people with them. You know, I mentioned that at the beginning. Using all these tough times as assets, adversity into an asset. So if you've been through any tough times, you know, you're the kind of person that people come to when they want a shoulder to cry on, then you have, you know, that innate sort of coach vibe about you. And then all you need to do is complement that with some tools and techniques and frameworks. And you could very well be somebody that joins Eric and myself on this sort of mission to go out there and coach other people and make the world a better place. So yeah, if that's something that you're feeling called to do, then yeah, come and check out what we've got to offer, and yeah, we'd love to connect with you.
Bless you, brother. Thank you for taking this time. I really want to acknowledge your yeah, you're really like resilient heart, you know. It's so really beautiful
for having me on, and yes, it's really been a pleasure to talk to you, and yeah, definitely can connect with a lot of the things you were sharing as well, like you mentioned a mirror. But yeah, I can completely relate to that as well. Like just listening to you talk, I'm like, oh yeah, I get that. Yeah, I've been there. You know, it's another one of those things. And the thing is, if you hadn't shared that, it's just so many people denying themselves the opportunity to connect, because you only need to share something and vocalize it for me to go, yeah, I get that. And then straight away there's an instant connection there, and it all comes down to that communication. And you know, you did share that we've got this I'm a mirror of yourself and things like that. But you know what? I think that's probably true for a lot of people, a lot of humans. We just have a lot to connect about. There's lots of similarities in our experiences, and it only really, requires just an intimate conversation for 40 minutes, and you have the ability to connect with someone in a powerful way. So, I mean, definitely there's some solid similarities with us for sure. But I would just encourage anybody listening to go and seek that connection for themselves, because you'll be surprised about how many people can connect. I mean, I think a lot of people seem to think that they're on their own with the way that they think and feel, and they're different from everybody else, and they wouldn't dare share what's going on for them because nobody would understand, when actually everybody understands once they've got enough information to connect to it. We're all very similar. The circumstantial symptoms of what's occurring in our life may be slightly different, but the underlying causes and the way that we think and feel, it's all very, 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 very similar. And I'm sure you can understand this with coaching, Eric. I mean, how many times have you had a client and they've said, I've got this really big problem and I don't want to share it with you. And then they share it and you think, oh yeah, I've had 3 conversations about that today already, and we're all very, very similar. I think just the power to connect and the power to communicate and identify with other people's stories is what brings us all together. So thank you for allowing me to do that with you today, and hopefully this conversation's helped a couple other people decide that's a good thing for them to do as well.
No question, brother. Absolutely grateful. I have one last question before you go.
Go for it.
If you had 3 days left to live, what would you do?
First thing that came to my mind is backpack. Yeah. It's just travel, just wherever I could go, wherever I could get quickest, and just experience a new culture. I'm all about experience and living, and I've got a bit of money now, and I've lived a little bit more of a sort of luxury life. But when I really strip it back, I remember when I was first getting started, and I put that backpack on, and I just turned up in a new place with a budget of $20 a day or whatever, and I think that was at my happiest. So I would take the girlfriend and the family or whatever, and I'll be like, look, let's go somewhere we've never been before.
I love it, brother. Thank you again, bro. Thank you for this love, this compassion, this brilliance of yours. And for anybody that's listening, make sure to go check out Lewis. He's in the Coaching Masters, and really recognize what he said. Like, we're all mirrors of each other. We really are able to connect with each other. So the beauty you see in the world, it really is the reflection that you see in yourself. So thank you, brother, for this wisdom. Appreciate you. And we'll talk soon, my friend.
Take it easy, Eric. Thank you very much. Speak to you soon.
Hey, everyone, and thank you so much for listening to The Resilient Minds. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please make sure to go comment and like and follow us on iTunes or Spotify, and please make sure that if you really love this, to share this episode, and make sure that you're inviting all your friends to like it as we continue to unfold what the beauty of our minds does. More importantly, how powerful our heart level of intelligence can be when we combine our heart and our brain together. And more importantly, check out the alignment course that I've created. It's seriously there for you to take advantage of at www.ericbalance.com/alignment. See you on the next show.